Hi there, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. So I'm going to talk about aviation, just a bit of a theme. It's a theme that's been running through probably my entire life, and my father was in aviation as well. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about what that means, and those of you who might be interested in a career in aviation, how you might get involved. We have a stand in Hall 1, just over there behind us now, so afterwards we'll all be there to answer any questions. So I set up an organization that's called the Aviation Skills Partnership. Now, what that's about is actually bringing everyone together who's involved in aviation, and I'll explain what I mean by aviation, to work together to make sure that we can get exciting careers going in all of these areas, because it's a really important area. Just in the audience, how many people have been on an aeroplane? Okay, well, virtually everybody. So when you fly in an aeroplane, what you probably don't think about is what are the different areas, and I'll talk about those in a minute. But a little bit about me, because this is about life skills. So my father, he was in aviation, and he was involved in the world speed record when the UK was the leading aviation country in the world. We led everything to do with aviation. We produced the best pilots, the best engineers, the best of everyone. Then over the years, what's happened is that hasn't been so important. Other countries have got better. Other countries have overtaken us. So I've had a fantastic career. And I started off at university. I'm one of those people who, at the time, you couldn't go to university and do training at the same time. You had to go to a beautiful university in London, Queen Mary College. And I thought I learned about aviation when I went there. I thought I knew all about aviation. When I came out, when I graduated, I was offered a job with Bristow Helicopters. Bristow Helicopters are the world's largest helicopter operator. They offered me a job and they said, hey, this helicopter over here, this needs some help, can you help? Because I was an engineering graduate. And I said, well, no, because I just learned about theory at university. I didn't learn about anything practical. I know how helicopters fly, but I don't know how to fix them or how to make them better. So they helped me with that. They gave me an apprenticeship. I was then lucky, and you can see aeroplanes are in my life. I was a company called Rakel, which is a very, very large electronics company. I got involved in helping to design and develop new avionics systems, new aircraft systems. That took me around the world, marketing, and it's a great, great area to be involved in. And I then joined an organization called the Civil Aviation Authority. I don't know how many of you know, but they are an organization that makes sure that all of your aircraft are safe to fly. So when you fly on holiday, they make sure that everything works and everything is safe. I spent a lot of time flying an aircraft as a flight test engineer. So we take aircraft into areas that you wouldn't normally like to if you were a passenger, and made it really in the unsafe areas to prove that it's safe. And then this aircraft here, the Boeing 777, some of you may have flown with, is the most successful long-haul aircraft in the world, and I was involved in that project, a great project. I then joined the airlines and spent the rest of my career working in airlines. Actually helped as an engineer, and then I became involved in running the airline. I ended up as a chief operating officer of British Airways, the regional airline. Fantastic job, and really involved in aviation. But then I started to think about, okay, well, I've had a fantastic career in aviation. Where would other people who want to follow that type of career, where would you go? What would your schools say to you about jobs in aviation? So we launched a program which we're calling the 6 areas of aviation. So every time a lot of you have flown, every time you fly, all of these things have to happen to enable you to fly. Now, you probably don't realize it when you get on board the aircraft. You might see somebody on the ground in the airport. You might see a cabin crew member. You won't see the pilot. You'll only hear from the pilot. But all of these other areas are really important to make sure that aviation works for you when you fly. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about each area. So anyone in the room want to be a pilot? Okay, so you want to be a pilot. Up until recently, it's the most expensive form of pilot training to do. So your mum, dad, parents, guardians would need to have about 80 or 100,000 pounds to train to be a pilot. We've now introduced a scheme, and you can talk about it in Hall 1 on our stand. It's a government-backed scheme backed by the airlines to train pilots, and you get a degree at the same time, and it's also what's called a higher apprenticeship, which means that airlines can employ you while you're being trained. So it means that the cost of training is now a lot less, and people are being trained through the place where pilots are trained. So now, if you want to be a pilot, it's a lot clearer as to how you become a pilot and how you actually how you move into that area. Air traffic control. You may see these big buildings in the airports. They're normally quite high. They have a glass bit on the top. All the people that sit in there are the people that actually keep your safety going as well, because they need to control the aircraft and make sure that all those aircraft go in the right direction at the same time. So anyone in the room thought about air traffic control as a career? That's quite normal. Most people think about being a pilot, and then they maybe hear about air traffic control at the same time. This is a really important job. It's a really highly paid job. I don't know if any of you saw the Heathrow Airport Live program on the BBC this year, where they actually went into the Heathrow control tower. There aren't enough people coming into these jobs. It's a fantastic job. It's as good as being a pilot. And there are now new programs that we're creating around getting people into this. Airport operations. I think at Heathrow there's something like 76,000 people on the airport, not the airlines. These are just the people that drive the vehicles, de-ice the tarmac, make sure the snow's clear, they keep the terminals running. This is a really good area for everyone to aim for, because virtually everybody has an airport near them, and a lot of those airports need good people to come and work at airports. It's really exciting because you're always involved you're close to the aircraft. This area here, operations and crewing, these are the people that decide where aircraft fly, how much fuel they carry, how many cabin crew pilots you need and where they come from, make sure everyone's paid. A lot of people don't think about this because you'll never see these people. If you fly in an aircraft, they're behind the scenes, they're hidden to you. But they're really highly paid, really important jobs. And these are people that probably hold a whole airline's future at their fingertips. Cabin crew. A lot of people think of cabin crew as being, it's like a service job, but actually it's a really important safety job. About 80% of a cabin crew training is around the safety of the aircraft and the safety of the passengers, not just looking after you on your flight. But you can go to college and sometimes you can do a cabin crew course and it doesn't actually give you the skills required to join an airline. So we're working now with airlines and colleges to bring all of those things together so that you can be cabin crew. And the last one on the wheel is engineering, aviation engineering. If you go to other parts of the skills show, you'll have people talking to you about aerospace engineering. So Rolls-Royce, BAE Systems. There aren't enough people coming into this area, which is called aviation engineering. This is the bit that works directly with the aircraft at the airport, even sometimes with passengers on board, to make sure the aircraft's safe, even things like the in-flight entertainment being fixed. So all of these areas have to happen at least once for one flight to take place. So we're really keen to ensure that people do come into aviation and start to think about this. There aren't enough girls who want to be pilots for some reason. We've had people on the stand this morning saying, well, surely to be a pilot is not really suitable for girls. It's more of a boys' job. It's not true at all. It's a really good job for girls as well. We need more girls to be pilots. We need more girls to be engineers. We need more girls to be air traffic controllers. So what we're doing is we've started a bit of a movement. On our website, you can join the Aviation Skills Network, and we'll give you information about where these jobs are. We'll tell you where you can study for these jobs. We'll tell you what types of jobs they are, and actually where you can get more information. So that's a very brief run around the aviation skills area, or aviation jobs. Hopefully we've told you a little bit about what aviation is, and I'm very happy to take any questions about any aspect of aviation. Any questions? Any questions about being a pilot? You still want to be a pilot? Good. You think you'll be a pilot? Good. Any other questions? No?
I've got a question for you. What do you enjoy most about being a pilot?
So I'm an engineer by background, but I have spent a lot of my time, I've done some flying as well. So the most enjoyable thing, I think, if you had a pilot standing here would be You're in aviation every day. You're flying above the clouds. You're going to exotic places. If you're really interested in aviation, it's a great job to do. And the same with all of these areas, because you're really close to the aircraft. It's a really exciting industry.
What's the most common problem that can happen on a plane?
The most common problem. The most common problem is probably passengers being late for flights. I don't know if you've flown, but you find that a passenger hasn't turned up for the flight and they have to delay the flight to get their bags off. Nobody's asked about the safety of aircraft. So I'll just quickly say something about the safety of aircraft. I'll take the question in a minute. So we had lots of people on the stand saying, well, what's the chances of an aircraft crashing? And the question we often say back to people is, do you worry about being driven to school, or do you worry about going in a car? And people say, well, no. But flying is far, 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 far safer than going into a car. It's just that when something happens, you tend to hear about it because it's a bit of a high-profile press incident. But actually, it's very, very safe. So the most common problem is things to do with passengers, really.
Did you love flying when you was a kid?
Sorry, what's the question?
On aeroplanes as a kid.
Did I fly aeroplanes? Model aeroplanes, do you mean, or in aeroplanes?
Yeah.
I did, yes. I always used to love flying. I would take every opportunity to go flying. And I'm very lucky to have grown up at a time when lots of people did that. But actually, when you talk to people now, people say, what is aviation? We've had people coming to the stand saying, we heard about aeroplanes, but what's aviation? So we tried to describe what is aviation and how you get into it. So it's a great age now for you to be interested in aviation and to talk to schools, talk to people about how you get interest in the job.
Would you need any specialist qualifications to the engineering side?
No, broadly, if you're going through the school system and you're doing, say, BTECs or A-levels, you'll be fine going into aviation engineering. But there are schemes that start at 16 that then feed you into those programs as well. So as long as you've got good maths, science, STEM subjects as they're called, science, technology, engineering, maths, you'll be fine.
Basically, I want to do travel and... That's too close to your mouth.
Shall I come over there?
Yeah.
I'll come over here.
Basically, I want to do travel and tourism, so I think one idea is to do cabin crew. So you just do 2 years course and then...
At college.
And then just go straight to cabin crew.
Okay, so the question, if you didn't hear it, was around travel and tourism and going to college. What you should do is to talk to your college, to talk to us, because there's a new course that's being delivered specifically for cabin crew. So if you definitely want to be cabin crew, the best thing to do would be to do the cabin crew course that we're launching.
This is the operation, the way they work behind the airplanes. What is that called? Operation?
Sorry?
What is that job called?
Check-in.
Yeah. What is that called?
It's a check-in agent, passenger agent at the airport.
The one that work behind.
Oh, call center.
No,
the operations and crewing. Okay, there aren't many colleges who will do training for that. So talk to us through our website and we'll talk to you about who you can talk to about those jobs. Mostly airlines recruit those people directly or they train them themselves. Operations and crewing. They're the people who sit behind who decide where everyone goes, whether the cabin crew fly to Los Angeles or... They can do, yes, because they can go to other airline bases and talk to the other parts of the airline, so international airlines particularly. So come to our stand and we'll talk to you in more detail about that later. Okay. Thank you very much.
And I remind you all to swipe to like on your way out as well. And can we give a big round of applause?
Thank you.
Thank you.